The point is that when one being specific to certain thing is like being blocked with the suffering. So everything is discarding itself. If not opening up completely, it's like blossom out, doesn't discard the blossoming state. Always discreetly maintaining tiny bit here and there. This is stuck with just blossoming and closing. Remind with the word everything. Open up with the reminder. Beyond paying attention specifically, because that is still narrow. True opening is discarding itself with everything. There is no need to be concerned with paying attention or not with anything. You already have the essence that is concluded. Just share it. Use it as the reminders. The opening will be there. Otherwise, it will be just for the sake of the conclusion, for the sake of ending. You still amidst samsara. The body mind is already assumed up. How can you be stuck with just the conclusion? With just stillness or indifference, you will be pressured by the samsara. Open up. Conclusion of purification, not for the sake of conclusion. Purify samsara through this essence from the conclusion. Uninvolved, use it with everything, uninvolved within the uninvolvement itself. This will help releasing out. This is the essential code of the Mahaparami, the great perfections. Nibbana of the Buddhas is the Nibbana to purify samsara. Buddhas help samsara through vimutti. For the Arahants, not always. Once they shift towards the essence of the great compassion, then it's for samsara, nibbana for samsara. That's the great compassion that the Arahants can give. My from my itself is meant for everything. It's meant for everything. It's not just my from my itself only. The essence of the cutting diluted knowing is for everything, not just about cutting. It's not just about the act of cutting. It's the great compassion which means for everything. Help cut through the cutting itself altogether. Collectively cut through with the power of cutting within itself, which means for everything, my from my itself, auto-cutting. It's not just that. Palms opening helps. Don't be concerned with observing and knowing. You have to bypass knowing and observing from oneself because it's going to lead towards being specific and it's narrow. It's a limitation. Bypassing this. Don't be concerned with the attempt to observe, to know anything because there is no cutting. My right away with everything, my from myself altogether with everything. There is no need to be concerned. Otherwise, you will not bypassing the knowing and seeing, looking with everything, my from my itself altogether. There is no need to emphasize on knowing or not knowing, seeing or not seeing. It's already there. There is no need to emphasize on it. It's there, but in the way of being bygone from itself. It's not about something to be fixated upon anyway, knowing and seeing. Therefore, don't emphasize on it. There is no need to overlay on top of it. The usage is there, but it's in the way of bygone. If you project on it, it's going to become fixation to knowing and seeing. Then it's circling, being stuck with just seeing and knowing. That is not bypassing, not get over it. From my, which is from my itself with everything. From uninvolved within the involvement itself with everything. From my, which is from my itself with everything. Not attached even to the non-attachment itself with everything. from not grasping for the non-grasping itself, everything. Let's continue to make a conclusion for samsara. This is not for the sake of conclusion, not for the sake of ending. This is sharing the ending for samsara. That's the conclusion. Automatically there will be the mighty force, the anupap of the purification that has no trace. Samsara has only the energy of mind focusing, mind projection towards one another. It's heat, it's hot energy, inside, outside, focusing, throwing to each other with the energy like that, projecting towards one another. This is the energy that is heated. Samsara is like that. Always projecting towards one another, putting obligation towards one another. That which is called not grasping for the non-grasping itself is not called energy. Neither is about positive or negative. Instead, it's the purification of the emptiness without trace. Neither is about plus or minus energy. Instead, it's the anupap of the purification without trace through the emptiness. It will soften down the karma and karmic difficulties of our minds within samsara, which is called helping through unwinding and releasing. This is beyond positive and negative energy, which is from not grasping for the non-grasping itself, mind from mind itself. Mind from mind itself. Cut. This is not to follow the mind, following, looking, seeing and knowing. Don't be obsessed with identification within the mind, within seeing and knowing, within feelings. Cut. Mind from mind itself, disengage from disengagement itself. This is auto-cutting. with everything, step back from the stepping back itself. You can use any sentences. Is there any sentence that is rotten? Neither of it, huh? Continue to use the reminders so that there's an opening. Everything. Don't be circling in doing something within the mind. You need to release out from the state of mind as a role model. Otherwise, you're circling within, making the mind in whatever ways. That is the whirlpool of the mind, always dwelling within the mind, practicing the mind. Release out from the releasing itself, like flowers blossom out of itself. Use the sentence that discards itself, that has unwinding within itself. You need to use the reminders. Everything is from discard the discarding itself. Everything is from let go of the letting go itself. Whenever you use these reminders, there is a releasing at any moment. Don't maintain anything because it's always fixated like that. It's no release. Cannot help oneself, cannot help samsara, cannot get over oneself. When you can get over oneself, it means that you can release out from the mind, from seeing and knowing. Releasing, enable to release out from one's own emotions and feelings. That is getting over oneself. Not to get over from anything. Get over oneself. Unable to release out of oneself, that means one cannot survive. Circling within oneself day by day. Mindfulness or meditation is not the way. That is a kind of oneself, not yet releasing out. Stillness or indifference is not the way either. That is not yet releasing from itself. Is sunken in this kind of state of mind. That is not yet survived from oneself. Still oneself there, fixated to oneself in the form of meditation, in the form of mindfulness, always oneself in it. Therefore, everything, constantly use the reminder, everything. Not grasping for the non-grasping itself. Use these reminders with everything. At least open up. This will open up from oneself already. At least. No matter how wide or narrow it is, it has to be in the way of not grasping for the non-grasping itself. Simultaneously with everything, releasing out, releasing out, releasing out. If you don't know how to release out, you'll be like in jail within yourself. Because this is not discarding the knowing, not discard the discarding itself. Therefore, it doesn't bypass knowing or not knowing. Always in jail. Cannot bypassing knowing or not knowing, seeing or not seeing, circling with just that. Knowing or not knowing, seeing or not seeing, on and on endlessly. Use the reminder with the word everything. The awakening will be simultaneously open up towards all things, simultaneously sharing towards all things. Proceeding in a way that is not grasping for the non-grasping self, my for myself. What is there to be grasped? It's not about grasping for anything.